Thank you very much for staying. Welcome back to the market, please. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is expected to present a supplementary budget and a mid-year review to Parliament in July. This is, however, subject to the House approving the proposed date by the Finance Minister. But is this constant review in budget estimates raising credibility issues for government? Dr. Saeed Boache is a senior economist with the Institute of Fiscal Studies.
Till first quarter numbers that we have from the Bank of Ghana, you realize that revenue underperformed what they forecasted. It's a little bit worrying to me because I'm always looking for how revenue is going to perform. For spending, it's very difficult to cut now. We have done work in terms of what we call rigidities. There's so much spending rigidity that drastically cutting spending is very difficult. But it is the revenue that, like the projection, the presentation they had today, they say the country is under collecting revenue by 5 percentage points of GDP. Are they going to be able to close it? Are they going to reduce that 5% number to say, 4%, 3%? If they're able to do that, then they will be able to efficiently generate additional revenue to support the budget. You see, that's all what we are all waiting for this. And in fact, the budget is hinges on this particular point, that they are going to be creative, improve efficiency in revenue collection, fill all the tap loopholes. That's what we are also waiting for.
Would you say that this does give us a justification on the concerns initially that maybe our targets, we overshot our targets, and that is why we are in this space of doing this review?
Like I just said, I'm a little bit worried that the first quarter numbers, we couldn't meet our target. But you have 4 quarters, and if you couldn't meet the first quarter revenue target, it doesn't mean you can meet the entire year target. But it is quite worrying.
Some would say that, do you think that this whole review that we are institutionalizing itself sends the wrong signal? Because when investors take your budget, your numbers, they want to know that government will end this year with these macro numbers. And if every time we have to come back and review them, you think it's not a good thing?
Come again.
Just reviewing these macro targets. I mean, some would say that every time we are doing a mid-year review, we are doing supplementary, it's now become institutionalized. Do you think it's a good thing? I take a budget of any developed economy, and I know that, these things are going to happen. These are the end-of-year targets you're looking at.
You see, the review comes. If even you exceed what you projected, you can still review. You see, so it is not reviewing that is the problem, but not meeting the target, underperforming your target is where the problem is.
Now, Minister of Trade and Industry Alan Kwadwo has challenged private sector businesses to critically examine the impacts of new government reforms aiming to improve the business environment of the country and give feedback. This, according to him, will help the ministry to monitor the performance of all sectors of the economy and make amends where necessary. He therefore called for support from the sector to help in making the country's business environment friendly. In an interview after launching the business regulatory strategy, which seeks to improve Ghana's ranking on the ease of doing business report.
Particular exercise does not exhaust all the interventions of government in supporting the private sector. And so there are specific interventions in respect of how we are helping the private sector to be able to deal with unfair trade practices, dumping of goods from other countries. You talked about the textiles. We have a task force that has been working on this, and we've been meeting regularly with both the importers, the manufacturers, and other stakeholders to deal specifically with that problem. So we should not mix everything that government is doing with this exercise, which is intended to look at the policies and the regulations for doing business.
Trades at the port, the freight forwarders have raised a concern that 2 agencies are operating the National Single Window project, and it gives them some hurdle when they are going to clear their goods. How are you addressing that? It's part of doing business in Ghana.
Yes, I think you heard from the presentation today on trade facilitation that there are certain interventions, initiatives that are already underway to try and deal with some of those challenges, whether it is clearing goods through the ports or trading across borders. You recall that this is one of the reform areas that we've already launched. And so we are now going to expect the private sector to start auditing what the departments and agencies, the reforms that they've undertaken, to confirm whether the reforms are actually working or not. But we cannot immediately start making judgments about whether the reforms have been effective or not. So let's give them a chance. At least they've been able to identify specific areas where the reforms would occur. It is for the private sector to see whether these reforms are providing the necessary incentives and the level playing field for them.
And away from that, the World Bank is partnering government through a $1.5 million funding to strengthen urban resilience in the Greater Accra metropolitan area. This partnership is expected to expand Ghana's urban sector for the creation of jobs and improvement of sanitation. Now let's cross over to the Mervyn Hotel, where currently the event is going on, for some updates.
The bank has the resources, both technical and financial, to put money where its mouth is. So we will be working with you on this agenda going forward. Once again, let me thank all of you for the excellent contributions to this workshop and particularly to the report. Thank you very much. Medasifa. So right after
Accra
the animation video,
and one of the fastest growing cities in West Africa. The Greater Accra metropolitan area, Gama, is home to over 4 million Ghanaians and a major economic growth.
Right after the animation video, let me invite you to lunch next door, where we can continue the conversation. On behalf of the organizing committee, we want to thank you for your attendance. We want to thank you for your contributions. And we hope to see you 10 years, 20 years from now, talking about the fruits of this meeting and not to talk about the problems that we are facing again. Thank you.
Accra is the capital of Ghana and one of the fastest growing cities in West Africa. The Greater Accra metropolitan area, Gama, is home to over 4 million Ghanaians and a major economic growth engine for the country. In the last 3 decades, the population in the Greater Accra region has increased rapidly, and its built-up urban area has grown even faster. The rapid growth and limited capacity makes it hard for the municipal government to provide adequate services and infrastructure. Climate change complicates Gama's dilemma. Droughts in northern Ghana are increasing the influx of migrants from rural areas, and the city is exposed to more frequent and more destructive flooding. In June 2015, Gama experienced a severe flooding episode. Ranked as the 10th deadliest disaster worldwide that year, rising waters affected over 50,000 people. The devastation was a wake-up call. With support from World Bank, the government of Ghana initiated strengthening urban resilience in Accra, a strategy to foster resilience across the 16 municipalities that make up the Greater Accra metropolitan area. National and local governments, civil society and partner organizations came together to collectively implement the City Strength methodology. They assessed the shocks and strains affecting the region and devised plans to proactively and jointly mitigate the challenges. The main shocks identified by the local stakeholders included flooding, fire, cholera outbreaks and coastal erosion. They also recognized that the region is under strain due to poor sanitation.
And that was a live feed from the Mervyn Hotel, where the World Bank is partnering government through a $1.5 million funding to strengthen urban resilience in the Greater Accra metropolitan area. We're still on the marketplace. Moving on, Chief Executive of the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement Systems, Archie Hesse, has disclosed that the agency has begun work on the National Interoperability Project and is on course to meet the deadline. The project is an initiative to improve mobile money transactions and other electronic payment services in the country as the country strives to go cashless. GIPS was given the mandate to undertake the project after a series of engagements between telcos, the Bank of Ghana, and some stakeholders in the financial and electronic payment sector. The successful rollout of the project will enable the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement Systems GIPS to improve on its operational capacity and scope of work while engaging on its existing networks.
In terms of the project activities, we are ahead of time. What we are left to do now is to start the development work, and testing will continue thereafter. So we are very confident that we'll meet the Vice President's timeline.
What's your engagement so far with the telcos?
We've engaged with the telcos. We have had engagement with the banking fraternity as well. And like I said, we have a comprehensive list of business requirements or a comprehensive list of activities that will be classified or considered under the umbrella of mobile money interoperability. And we've looked at what sort of development work is needed, and we believe that we have a number of them in-house already. There are a number of things that we have to add onto it, but there isn't that much at all, and we are very confident that we'll meet the deadline. Don't forget that, incidentally, GH-Link is a platform that we use to interconnect all banks. So it's no different from adding another mobile money entity to it.
Let's now do some stories from South Africa. The South African province of Gauteng, as part of its Africa strategy, is seeking closer economic ties with businesses in the Greater Accra region. Premier of Gauteng province, David Makura, who is in the country for 2 days, has been discussing with the Greater Accra regional minister how they can collaborate for mutual benefits. Mr. Makura spoke with Joy Business after a business-to-business seminar organized by the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, JIPC, stressing the need for trade among African countries, especially at the city level.
So the business delegation we are bringing today was preceded by another business delegation that came here in January. So in January we sent a big delegation of business people. Some of them have since been here twice because they saw the business opportunities that are here in Ghana. But last week, the High Commissioner, together with the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, also brought a business delegation into South Africa. The CEO of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center was just reporting back. So we want to see that mutually beneficial flow of investment, of business activity between Ghana and South Africa, but especially between the businesses here in Greater Accra and Gauteng province. Which sectors of the economy are we looking at? First and foremost, we are looking at the manufacturing of goods in the African continent, turning the mineral resources that we have into goods that can be exported with a value added in the continent. These goods can be sold in African markets, but they can also be exported to the world. So manufacturing, especially advanced manufacturing.
Now the talks followed a 7-day trade mission embarked upon by government agencies and Ghanaian businesses to South Africa, which concluded with a call for an increase in intra-Africa trade. CEO of the GIPC, Yofi Grant, who is making this call, believes it is crucial in building stronger markets on the continent. There's more in this report.
The trade mission, organized by the Ghana South Africa Business Chamber in partnership with the Ghana Investment Promotion Center and the South Africa High Commission in Ghana, was to enable Ghanaian businesses explore opportunities in South Africa and to showcase investment opportunities to potential South African investors. The mission took the delegates to 3 provinces, namely Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, and Western Cape. Speaking to Joy Business on one of the tours, CEO of GIPC, Yofi Grant, bemoaned the low level of trade among African countries.
Currently, intra-Africa trade is about 12%, which is woefully inadequate. In Europe, intra-European trade is about 65%. And so the European market stands to be stronger because it's a market that works together. The African markets are weak because we are not working together. We probably export more to outside the continent than we export to the continent. And that is something that we should also try and fix. And speaking or hearing the governors of both Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal speak, that is an issue that for them it's imperative that they actually go out there to see how best they can work to increase intra-Africa trade.
Members of the Ghanaian delegation also visited some business locations and took part in business-to-business seminars organized at each province. Some of them shared their experiences with Joy Business.
My name is Philip Obordo for Bullion Investment Group. We are pretty much an investment hub, and we are into a few sectors as well: agriculture, healthcare, hospitality and real estates. And our experience here in South Africa has definitely been great. We've had the chance to meet some key delegates and companies, not just from South Africa but across Africa. And we're all looking to work together to build to have a developmental attitude and build on something. So it's been very great.
My name is Paul Kofi from Twa House Company Limited. The experience has been awesome. I mean, from Johannesburg to Durban to finally to Cape Town. I've had the opportunity to meet potential investors, partners, distributors, and a few others. Now, key for me is this intra-African trade, how people are really warming up to our idea of affordable housing. It's been an awesome experience.
President of the Ghana South Africa Business Chamber, Ashley Risk, later expressed satisfaction with the outcome of this year's trade mission.
And, the feedback that we've had, the interaction that we've been able to have, the support that we've had from the different provincial governments in organising the tour and getting the right sort of people to meet our delegates has been very good. So yeah, I think the feedback's been very positive. People are looking for more of these kind of trade missions in the future, possibly to be even a bit more sort of trade specific. And so we're definitely going to be looking at organising possibly even 3 or 4 of these trade missions every year.
This is the second mission embarked upon by the Ghana South Africa Business Chamber since its inception.
And back here in Ghana, specifically in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, some youth entrepreneurs have been sharing their concerns on the frustrations they encounter when going into business. This was at a forum organized by the National Youth Authority in the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi. Here's a report.
Officials of the National Youth Employment Authority, Microfinance and Small Loan Center and other agencies were in attendance to take participants through various business models. Ultimately, beneficiaries are expected to appreciate self-employment instead of wait for what is normally known as government work. Here is one of the facilitators, Dolores Enyo Awoleme, President of Leadership Trainer, Best Advice Agency. She emphasized on branding and packaging of products and services to meet international standards and attract bigger investors.
We go to the other world, we see that the same shirt you have produced, they have branded it over there very well. So what we are lacking here is branding and packaging ourselves. This program, at the end of it, we are seeing that the youth in the Oforikrom will come out different from any other person, in a sense that you'll be able to brand yourself well, your packaging well, and the field you find yourself, you'll be able to work and work well.
Imelda Anchi is a participant.
They've told us who an entrepreneur is, what makes you an entrepreneur, and how you are able to set up. And when setting up, there are some stages you have to go through if and only you want to be a successful entrepreneur. And with the long-term goals, with the short-term goals, what to determine, what would help you, where to position your business, who would benefit from your business, and where you want to take your business to the next level.
Member of Parliament for Oforikrom, Dr. Emmanuel Mafu, who spearheaded the program, throws more light.
So we are not just telling them to be entrepreneurs. We are motivating the youth to be entrepreneurs. But at the same time, we are also opening their eyes to the opportunities for accessing capital and startup credit, so that in addition to dreaming, they will also have some money to start. And we are also bringing the university on board so that the training, the requisite training that they also require to be able to start what they want to start can also come on board. So it's a comprehensive package.
Reporting for Joy News, Nana Sensumensa.
All right, so currently we are live on Marketplace, and a performance contract has been signed between CEOs of some state-owned enterprises and sector ministers on the other side. Now, George Wiafe was at the event and has joined me here in the studio to tell us more about this particular development. Yeah, George, so what actually went on?
Well, so we are looking at all the state-owned organizations. Let's say, for instance, TOR, Ghana Gas, Ghana Processing Company, also looking at Cocoa Board and all those things. And their various sector ministers were there. Basically, they are saying that you've been given the mantle to head this institution as a CEO, and even as a board chair as well. Now, what are some of the things that you're supposed to do to meet X target as a CEO and as a chief executive or a board chair? So for these agencies or these institutions, there are various sector ministers. Let's just say the Minister of Energy was there, or if his deputy was there, you had TOR, you had GNPC, you had Ghana Gas, and the other agencies were there to sign these contracts and to ensure that they live up to expectation. Now, the Vice President in his remark was saying that, listen, there are reasons why you've been put there. There's change in government. Protection of the public purse is critical. So if you fail to do that, well, you know what will happen to you. We are going to enforce the Financial Administration Act, which could include being asked to step aside or even being prosecuted. And reminded these CEOs about the fact that that is why they are bringing this special prosecutor to deal with some of these issues.
All right, so which actual sector ministers were there today?
Well, they were cutting across. You had finance, you had energy, you had tourism, you had aviation. So all these critical sectors and the agencies that falls under them, they were there. I mentioned a State Investment Commission, TOR, and all those institutions were there. The CEOs were there, their board chair were also there to initiate this agreement between their sector ministers and that institution to say that you have this amount of time in office, you're supposed to do that, you're supposed to do that. These are the targets that you're supposed to meet. And every mid-year, they'll be doing review of these contracts. And if you fail to live up to expectation, they're not going to wait to the end of the year before you say that you failed to do that. Even in that mid-year, certain actions could be taken against you.
So if I get you right, various companies which fall under specific ministries.
These are state-owned institutions, and these are state institutions. So for instance, Graphic, for instance, was there, and you look at the Ministry of Information. So the Graphic CEO was there, the MD was there, the board chair of the Graphic Communication Group was there. What are the critical targets that have been given to you to help grow? And these things were outlined in those targets that they signed. So what are these key performances that they've actually outlined? And for them to say that, okay, you have failed to do X amount of things. So therefore, we're going to take this action against you. So these performances or these targets have been outlined in that contract for you to do. Therefore, what the Vice President said was that it is very critical that we protect the public purse. So if you don't act in a way that will protect the public purse, then it looks like you are not supposed to be there as a CEO.
So you'll be changed?
You'll be changed, you'll be prosecuted if you misappropriate state funds. The law will deal with you. And he actually asked the CEOs, the board chair, and even the ministers, go back to the Financial Administration Act.
Now, George, to what extent do you think this particular development would be beneficial to the state?
Well, you had a lot of reports. The recent
sector has been given mandatory budgetary allocations.
Yeah.
So
well, it's about protecting the little funds that are available. You're talking about expenditure cuts and all those things. And if these reports that we are hearing nowadays about the Ghana Standard Boards is anything to go by, millions of dollars, Ghana cedis being lost and all those things, then it is critical that these things are put in place so that the little funds available is protected for you and I. If these institutions generate enough internally generated funds, or IGF they call it, some can be passed on to the state so that they can be used to do critical things. You have these institutions that generate millions of Ghana cedis, and they still want to actually fall on the consolidated fund for their needs and all those things.
Now, I don't know whether you were able to speak with some of these CEOs and what were their reactions?
Well, their promise is that it's a huge tax for them and they promise to live out to expectation. If at the end of the day it's all about trying to save the little funds available for the country, then why not? It means that they will also be turning the heat on their workers and their officers that this is my tax that I have to deliver, and therefore you either fall in line or you back off.
All right. Any other thing important?
Well, there were a lot of things that came up, as I said. The Vice President was talking about the fact that he's committed, this government is committed to improving the business environment. And if these SOEs, GIPC is working well, obviously that indirectly will go a long way to improve the business environment for you and I, and to help businesses grow.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yafe.
Update. And that was George Yafe bringing us up to speed with a performance contract that has been signed between CEOs of some state-owned enterprises and sector ministers on the other hand. And on that note, we wrap up this afternoon's edition of the Marketplace. Many thanks for watching. My name is Emmanuel Apuaji. We have to do journey again same time tomorrow for other interesting developments in the world of business. Have a great afternoon.